The following is a conversation. It has the features of any conversation, such as imperfectly expressed thoughts, ill-considered opinions, and the notions of several sleep-deprived brains. Try not to get your stethoscope in a twist about it.
On today's show, we're talking about what to do if you get into a medical school and then decide it's just not the right one for you. But first, you guys doing okay?
Yeah.
No. But that's okay.
Like in general, not just med school.
It's Friday. The sun is out. It's like 80 degrees. It's basically
vibes.
summertime.
I was hoping it would have the arrival of spring would have more of an effect on me, but I'm just saying I still feel a little bit like I'm hibernating.
You should go skip outside.
I should go skip.
Frolic.
Frolic,
I'll
yeah.
go frolic.
Frolicking is a lifestyle.
Okay. What does frolicking look like for a 53-year-old white dude?
Whatever you want it to look
Exactly.
like.
You just
I haven't frolicked in a while.
You should try it.
It's my time to frolic. So I think we could all use a boost, though. Compliment each other using your middle school slang.
What was middle school slang?
that was a long time ago.
I know, but it's in there somewhere.
It's like rad middle school.
Yeah.
Rad.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Right?
that's. I feel like rad was a thing when I was.
I think it was also a thing.
A youngster.
Jess, your outfit is bussin'.
Yeah.
I feel like that's newer.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Just pick one from
Let's
recent
get this
memory.
bread. That's all I remember.
I feel like YOLO.
Shruthi got this bread.
What do they say in Atlanta area?
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Dang. Caught me on the spot. Now I look like I'm not from Atlanta.
You know it's been a while, but
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah, it's only been a year. All right, jig is up. I'm actually not from Atlanta.
Yeah, you're from that weird named town.
Yeah, Decula.
Tequila.
Yep.
All right, well, you guys
Failed that one.
Failed.
I know.
Not me.
failing at remember. Yeah, you did.
I did it.
Good job,
did it.
Shruthi.
Good job.
Meandering in the margins of medicine, it's the Shortcoat Podcast.
Weird news,
Fresh views
helpful clues, and interviews.
by students for students.
Subscribe to our weekly show at theshortcoat.com.
Welcome back to the Shortcoat Podcast, the show that gives you an inside look at medical school from the students drinking from that fire hose. It's a production of the University of Iowa Carver College of Medicine. I'm Dave Etler. With me today in the SCP studio. She's a total vibe. It's M1 Maria Schapfel.
Oh, yeah.
He's dope. It's MD PhD student Michael Arrington.
What's up?
She's fire. It's MD PhD student. Oh boy. I didn't look
Give it
up
a
the
try,
pronunciation. Shruthi Kondaboina.
Close.
Kondaboina.
Kondaboina.
Love that. Did I get the first name right?
Shruthi? Yeah.
Shruthi.
It's like a Ruthie, but the SH in the front.
Shruthi
Yeah.
Kondaboina. Okay. She's lit. It's MD PhD student Jessica Smith.
Hey.
I might as well be MD PhD. People thought I was until like February.
What do you have a look? Do you have a attitude?
I just was friends with all the MD PhD students.
She
at
just
the
hung out with
beginning.
us all the time.
Well, they are pretty cool.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah.
I know. They wanted me to join their ranks.
You think you'll?
Invitation is
Absolutely
open.
not.
But what is it that puts you off?
8 years
Yeah.
of my life.
Pretty
Here.
easy question.
Doing
I don't know. What are you
research
guys?
before.
Are you guys like? Are you guys all like worried about that at all at this point? I mean, it's a
right
little
now.
early to start worrying about the
I'm worried
next
about
7
the next
years.
test. I can't even focus that far ahead right now. I feel like my memory's just like, what's the next test or like what's going on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I have like a existential crisis about it, but it goes away, you know.
Yeah.
You chose your lab, right?
No.
Oh.
It's,
It's still.
hey, I narrowed it down to
existential
2.
Oh, you get to choose your lab.
For,
I
yeah.
guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to optimize our life during that period.
But you can choose now.
Yeah, we choose for rotation. So it's like test runs of different labs before we choose like our real lab.
I did not know that. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we only get 2 or 3 though, so you have to be very cognizant of which labs you choose to do your rotations in.
How do you? I mean, I assume you're choosing based on your particular interest area.
Usually, there are people who kind of branch out though, because funnily enough, the way that it's organized here, but I think they also want you to like learn from other people that are like you wouldn't expect to find interest in.
Okay.
Just because
Sure.
research is so broad. And I mean, we've met clinicians who are MD PhDs who are like, oh yeah, I did this when I did my PhD, now I do this. So it's like not even necessarily related to what they've studied.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. I'm down with that. I approve. Shortcoats, I love you with a deep and abiding love. And I love your questions. If you ever have one that we can help with, visit theshortcoat.com/tellus and share it with us. It'll help us make a show that's yours more than ours. And my love story with you will be epic and passionate in that situation. Does that sound creepy? Did I cross some sort of line? In fact, that's what, quote, my initials spell ARM did with this question. So let's hear from ARM, I guess.
Hello. First of all, I love the podcast. My pre-med advisor recommended it to me in undergrad, and it has been a great resource.
Nice.
Now I am finding myself having to make a tough decision. I graduated undergrad in December, and I applied to medical schools last cycle. I only got into one medical school and waitlisted at another one. When I visited the medical school I got into, I found that I didn't like the campus or the area as much as I thought I would. I think the school has a decent program, but it is private, small, and expensive. My goal has always been to get into an in-state MD school in California because ever since moving away for undergrad, I've wanted to go back and be closer to my family. My parents could also partially cover the cheaper tuition costs, but these are some of the most competitive schools in the country. I am debating reapplying this cycle, but all I've added to my application is 4 months worth of clinical hours as a CNA, some additional shadowing and volunteer work, and a small public health research project that probably won't be published. Do you think I should just go to the school I got into or try again and see if I get into a school I like? For reference, I'm very interested in primary care.
So ARM is having some applicant's remorse. ARM, you probably know that a little less than half of applicants get accepted into a single school. So it's super common. So we've got a lot of factors here. I mean, number one, they seem less than pleased with the private school nature of this med school. I didn't fully realize this, but there are actually a lot of allopathic private MD schools. Mm-hmm. I didn't fully appreciate that. When I think of private, I usually think of DO schools because I mean that's pretty common. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about private med schools. I don't know. Maybe I'm a commie, but I feel like business and medical education are sometimes kind of an awkward pair. But what do I know? How do you guys feel about that?
I feel like there's pros and cons to both, to be quite honest.
Yeah,
I think
go for it. I'd like to hear it.
I think private med schools have a lot more autonomy that like not linked to the state.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough, because we have we do have some mandates from the state to be
correct.
Like, we have to admit so many percent of in-state applicants
and I mean like from a politics standpoint right now, like Iowa state is like no DEI, but if this was a private med school, they probably could do whatever DEI, whatever they've changed it to now without having repercussions.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Some independence.
Yeah. I feel like the education, depending on like what private school it is, because I have friends that go to like public and private med schools. It seems to me like the education is pretty similar. I mean, you're still learning the same thing.
Yeah. The thing there is that all med schools are accredited by the U.S. or accredited by the same body. So you have to achieve a certain level of rigor in your curriculum. But private sometimes, or a lot of times, I don't know, equals expensive.
But I think you do have more independence on like your funding sources and funding access too.
I think the main question maybe, or another main question for ARM is far from support. Now, I know that at least 3 of you are from elsewhere. Somebody is from Illinois. Somebody is
I'm from Illinois.
Illinois, Massachusetts, Atlanta,
Seattle.
Okay, so all of you are far from home. Has that been a factor this year?
I definitely miss family for sure, but I think it's a part of growing up that you need to move away from your family a little bit and make your own identity. And I think that's what I'm doing right now. So I don't think like all of like the feelings I have about missing family is like, I don't think it's like detrimental to me. I think it's just like a natural part of my growth a little bit. It also, I think, builds like a lot of emotional independence and resilience, because now you're having to step out of your comfort zone and make new connections and find your support group that you weren't like naturally like born into, let's say, if you were with your family. So I think this, if you're concerned about moving away because you're going to be far away from your connections.
I should be clear. This person went to undergrad away from home and is thinking about moving back for that support during med school.
From a personal standpoint, like, because I was like a 6-hour drive away from home for undergrad, and now I'm a 6-hour flight travel time situation away from home now. I feel like for me personally, like the amount I miss my family is not different. I think the hard thing here is there's a lot of people either in state or close to home, like within driving distance, like whether it be like Minnesota or even like Illinois area. And I think that is trickier when you're like, oh, people's parents are coming to visit, like their moms send them back with food, whatever. Like I don't have that luxury. I guess in this situation, like plug for the small private school, it's not a state school. The people there are going to be most likely from a lot of different areas that will all kind of be in a similar,
so
like,
you'll all be in the same boat.
Yeah. Or more likely, at least, to have like a more diverse kind of like everybody's from a different area type situation.
California's tough. Think about those schools that people
in
California. They're very competitive. I think in a lot of cases, because they're relatively inexpensive, California schools are heavily subsidized. And there's a lot of them, but the fact of the matter is that they're hard to get into, and so that's why we have a big group that come from the West Coast, come from California to come here. So I guess the question for ARM is, what should they do? Should they just go to the school?
I think it's not as easy. I mean, the fact that this person got into this school is already like a good thing. And in general, it's best to take opportunities as they arise. But I don't want to boil it down to some easy, like, you got in, go. Because I think it's important to take into account the nuances of that person's situation. I don't know culturally if this person, like, for example, I have Hispanic family members who like to be around each other. It's like heavily family oriented.
Yeah.
And so, like, if this person's Hispanic, maybe it's very imperative that they go back home because they've missed their family. And it's like beneficial to their mental health, which is very important in medical school.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's like, is this person resilient enough to get past it? In most cases, I would say it's probably best that you take the opportunity, but I think it's also important that that person take into account other aspects about themselves that they might not have considered in order to adjust that question. Because I don't think it's a simple hour-long conversation between us four that can really help this person answer that question, unfortunately.
Well, I was thinking of what they would need to do to essentially start over with applications. Knowing that they got into one school and were waitlisted for another, what would they have to do? I mean, their luck would have to change, I guess. But what would they have to do to change their application? I was thinking, like I did a little research, and I think the biggest blow-up potential is, getting a higher MCAT score, a better science GPA, which would involve investing in some sort of maybe post-bac program, master's degree. Although I couldn't really tell from my research whether another degree would really be.
And you would have to report, I believe, that you got into a school, and then you have to have the conversation of, well, why did you apply to a school that you didn't think you'd want to go to? Why did you turn this acceptance down? And I don't think that would be a positive
conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, because you have to report it, right? And they'll probably ask you about it.
Yeah. I think that would be something that would be asked about.
Yeah. A lot of the people on the admissions panels, they do tend to, it's a kind of like a red flag for them when they see the application and they see that you got into a school, but then you decided not to go because...
Well, yeah, fine point, because they're also thinking, well, maybe they'll
do the same thing with us. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're less likely to spend their resources on like considering you when you let go of a prior opportunity like that. So, but I'm not saying that's always the case. There's always circumstances that people face where they're like, I can't this year. Like I'll need to defer or withdraw my application. And that happens all the time. And it's usually how you explain it and how you have that conversation that Jess was talking about. So I would advise that the person come up with like a good, well fleshed out and thought out answer about why they decided not to go to the school when they had received their acceptance.
Yeah, I mean, from what it seems to me, there's kind of like two factors. One, I guess like, okay, yes, being close to family, but like I'm discounting that. I think like the financial aspect of going to an in-state school is definitely something. And I think like with that, like you should look and see if you can get, financial aid or like a scholarship or something from the school that you already got into. And I mean, I can't speak for all med schools, but I think it is a somewhat valid request to be like, I want to go here, but it's expensive.
What can you do?
Yeah, exactly. Granted, it's easier, I think, if you have another school that you're like, they're offering me this much money, tuition is this much for them, like, but you are my first choice, like, can you give me money? So I think like that's one factor, just like from the financial aspect. The second aspect is like they didn't like the campus or the area. I would be interested to see like what that means, because I mean like
that's the thing that I was also thinking, because I think those are probably not the most important aspects of choosing a medical school.
Yeah.
I mean, like being from a bigger city, like this is not like the area that I would necessarily want to live in forever.
It's like a cute suburb.
Yeah,
it's
fun. It has its perks. But I'm here for school, and there are so many like other things, like the people, for example. I think even though it's like smaller than I would want to live in the future, like it's really convenient for being in school and for being busy and for not having a lot of money. So I think that just like area and campus, like I don't think those are the most important.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the people are more important than like what
I think they're definitely more important.
So I kind of feel like that's a criteria.
Yeah, you're going to be spending a lot of time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you don't like the building. Like,
the people are going to get you through.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if your building like looks disgusting or if there's not that much to do in the area or whatever.
Do you think? I think that not only do the people make it, but what you put into it, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it.
For sure.
And I'm not saying that you should like make med school your whole life, because I've said you shouldn't do that before. But I also think that the more you can get involved with what you're doing, the better, the happier you're going to be, you know, especially if you're, I don't know, what do you guys do? Do you guys do anything here besides,
besides school?
Besides school.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do in, what activities are you involved in?
I know a bunch of us are involved in our learning communities, so I do philanthropy in the learning community. I also am involved in some of the interest groups. I do like the humanities distinction track. I'm taking a humanities elective. That's really fun. Lots of little things.
I mean, Michael and I both play like intramural soccer with like.
You do?
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, and it's with, I mean, you recruited some med students, but it's like doctors and their children. We play soccer with. It's pretty fun.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah. And there's like, I don't know, there's enough things to do. I think kind of as you talk to more people, whether they're like upperclassmen or just like you get to know like professors or like random other people like who, like, I don't know what to call you guys. Like, you're not like support staff, but you're like people we interact with. Like you find
the
out
faculty and staff.
Yeah. Like you just find out. You just
sounds fancier. I like
that. Does. You just like find out like what there is in the area and kind of like the hidden gems that like from first pass, like I would never know, like whatever, this place exists, and then like I just find out that like, oh, this restaurant's really good, or like you should go to this place because it's like a really nice place to walk around. Like
there's probably something everywhere that you can find. You might have to look for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know. I'm kind of a huge proponent of like people can make their own happiness. You just have to like be willing to like do that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still curious where this school is.
Oh, me too.
I'm not sure if like even though like Iowa City isn't like a big city or anything, there's still things to do here. I know that's not necessarily true for all, even like acute suburbs. Like,
well, I mean, I was thinking like University of Rochester is like a smaller, which is like where one of my best friend goes. Shout out Shalaka if you listen.
She is. Let's pretend she is.
I'll send her the little podcast link. But like that's a smaller private school. It's in upstate New York, which is like pretty rural. Rochester's technically a city, but it's, I don't know, it's comparable to Iowa City, I would say. But even then there's like, I would say there's plenty of stuff to do there. Like, yeah, the campus isn't like super, I would say Iowa's, like our campus is like slightly nicer than kind of like what Rochester's campus looks like. At least for their med school, their undergrad campus is beautiful. But for their med school campus, like, yeah, we have a nicer area. But like,
I feel like we're interesting in that we have this situation here in Iowa City where, you know, one side of the river is primarily undergrad, and then the other side of the river is primarily healthcare. And law. And, or I guess you could say professional schools are mostly on the side of the river. But it still feels more cohesive than, you know, at least looks wise.
I feel like that's true. It just kind of like flows.
But I don't know if that's true at other schools.
I know.
I'm sure it's not true. It's not true at some schools.
Rochester's like weird. It's kind of hard to explain. I went there for undergrad, so that's like why I know like what the med school looks like and everything. But yeah, I would say like we have a nicer med school building than they do. But
that's because
ours is
pretty new.
Yeah, I was gonna say ours is like new and fancy.
It's 23 years old.
Yeah. So, but that's not to say like Rochester like is a like, I don't know, like bad school, like not a nice area. Like it's still really nice there.
Yeah.
It just looks different.
I think it's also important to like have your own hobbies even within that. Like I like to play chess. Whatever this person likes to do, I think they should do their best to keep up with it.
Totally.
As much as they humanly can.
Or find stuff. I mean,
finding new hobbies is also fun. Started volleyball.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we gotta play.
Rock climbing.
This is true.
Yeah. So, I think if you take agency and try to, do your best to keep your mental health and whatnot up, like, it's not all bad.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, for me, like, running is, like, really important for my own sanity. And if I was in a med school area, or if I lived in an area and went to med school in an area where I could not run easily for, like, whatever reason, just based off of, like, I don't know how it's set up, right? I don't know.
A lot of stairs.
And not like just
space.
like not like good sidewalks to run on or whatever, like streets. I don't know.
I'm trying to imagine. Yeah. Sidewalks.
Right.
Sidewalks are important.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
If it wasn't like a safe area to run in, basically, like, could I run down the street? Like, yes or no? I think I would have a very hard time with that.
My wife would love you.
But
She's very. So we come from, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And a lot of places in Massachusetts aren't that great with sidewalks.
Oh, no, they're terrible. But you can also, like, run on the street and, like, not get hit by a car.
She, like, on occasion, I've been like, yeah, we could move back to Cape Cod or Boston or something like that someday. And she's like, no, there are no sidewalks. I'm like...
Yeah, or if there are sidewalks, they are, like, falling apart and have holes in them. But, like, it's a very,
it's
like...
older back then.
It's, yeah. I know. I feel like you don't realize how good sidewalks are until you do not have a sidewalk.
Yeah.
I'm here for that.
I think we're suggesting that it would be... How do I put this? We're suggesting that it would be easier, perhaps, to stick with the school that you got into, knowing that you will have to sort of make a project of finding the things that you can enjoy or will enjoy about your med school town. If we were going to offer advice, I guess that's what it'd be. I wouldn't say that it's the worst idea in the world to maybe try again, but I think it's going to be an uphill battle. Sometimes you gotta go, and you're not going to be there forever.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's a temporary situation unless you're crazy
4
MD
years.
PhD student and
Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of feel like, I mean, if they looked at the area and they didn't like love it, I would say, like, my thing is, like, do you like the people? And we didn't get info on that. So
yeah, well,
It's
they
hard to
pointed
know
out as a problem. So.
who the people are until you get there.
It's true.
This is true.
You don't really know the people during second visit or...
I think it would be
that's in
unlikely
the
that you would
M2s.
not like any of the people.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you don't have to like all the people. You just have to find your group.
I mean, do
And that's
you like
likely
everyone? Like, no. But
What?
I know, crazy.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I would probably tell the person to really focus on that story about why they are choosing not to go like during the cycle, because I think that will be the most important essay that they'll probably look at as evaluators, and then make sure that,
or if there's not an essay, have a really good answer for why you didn't go if you chose not to go.
Yeah, and then make sure that you don't apply to a school if you don't have an intention of going there.
Yeah,
for the second time you apply.
Yeah, in general, you want to be pretty careful about.
Med schools extend offers to those like people because they assume that if you apply there, you want to go there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They do a lot of. I tell you what. I hear from our admissions group the amount of work that goes into choosing applicants and then talking with them afterwards and going over the financial aid part of it and all that kind of stuff. It is a huge project.
Yeah.
And to just be like, I don't. The vibe is off. I'm not gonna do it. That would probably make them kind of annoying.
I would be curious to think why they chose to apply in the first place. too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like what their reasoning was, and then like, okay, you get there, you don't like it, but what did you like it? Like,
what made you like it enough to apply
right,
to it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's obviously a reason. I mean, we all applied to med schools for a reason. Even if it wasn't like, oh, like I loved this med school. It was still like I applied here because like XYZ, you know.
Okay, you don't have to name schools, but tell me about a school that you applied to that you were disappointed that you didn't get into. Is that a thing?
Oh, I was disappointed about one of the schools I didn't get off of the wait list for.
Yeah.
Why was that? Was really disappointed because that was my favorite interview out of all the interviews I had. That was an interview where I felt like the whole entire day, everybody who I talked to was just like a really, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like the feeling I had during the interview was like the best out of all of them. And also like the curriculum, the location was closer to home, which was like beneficial. It's really hard to get home from Iowa.
It's at least 2 flights.
That's my major complaint with Iowa is actually the fact that there's no direct flight.
Bullshit.
It's really annoying. And it's true for like all the California people, everybody else who has to fly, like, I think
you just have to make friends with somebody who lives in Chicago. They'll drive you to Chicago and send you to O'Hare.
Thanks, Jess.
Got you.
See, but Jess, all three of us do that. But the time for me to drive to Chicago and then fly home is just the same.
I know.
It's a
amount
wash.
of time.
I feel like it's a wash. We do this with some regularity. Drive to Chicago. It saves us a couple $100 on.
Right.
On
it
a flight
saves
and
money, but
even when you factor in parking and all that kind of stuff, it's the same amount of time.
Well, but
you can meet your cool
her
friends' parents. They might feed you ice cream. They might take you to breakfast. You know,
Jess,
it's kind of a deal.
I did that with you and your mom.
Exactly.
And the two dogs.
That's what I'm saying.
The lasagna, the cookies. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
This is a good deal.
Yeah. You should
Can I be your friend?
Of course.
Yeah, you should just go to Jess's house.
I would love that.
Yeah, my driveway is open for parking.
Advertise here.
Your parents are thrilled.
No, that's true. We did have really good pancakes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So if you had your choice, you would have gone to school closer to home.
I would have gone slightly closer to home. I also liked some of the extra programs that they had there that they don't have here. Mm-hmm. In terms of like, because we have distinction tracks or whatever. They had like which a lot of schools do have, but Iowa doesn't have. It was like an engineering innovation distinction track thing. So like we have research distinction track and teaching in global health and humanities and
the healthcare delivery science.
Whatever. Yeah. But they had one that was like a specific kind of like engineering innovation.
There's a new group, and I don't know much about it. There's a fairly new group called the Medical Innovation Student.
Yeah, I just
heard about it this week.
Yeah. Ooh.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. But they had like a very like kind of structured program for that. So I was like, that is something I would have wanted to do there. And
because
like
your background is
molecular genetics, but I did a big project in undergrad that was like, that had a lot of engineering aspects to it that I really liked. It was like some like electrical and like biomedical engineering. So
yeah. I think someone should start a Survivor game show reapplication process.
Can we have a Survivor game show for medical students?
I think there would be challenges. There would be challenges like I don't know, suturing, memorizing obscure pathways,
listing all the drugs you know,
emotional intelligence obstacle courses. I don't even know what that looks like.
Can I not participate in this?
Why not?
Well, I mean, it's a reapplicant process, right? So if you want to reapply, you got to go on this game show. Whoever is in the top 10%.
So like Hunger Games.
Kind of. Whoever's in the top percent at the end gets into medical school, and the top 1% gets to go to whatever school they want.
I'm here for that.
I'd watch the shit out of it.
Oh, me too.
And feel guilty the whole time.
That would definitely bring the worst out of people.
Yeah, right?
Well, and then med students will be like, oh, can you believe we got the top 1% med student who choose to came here?
Yeah.
Did you see what they were like on that med?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
I love this idea and hate it at the same time. I know. That's what I'm saying. Bunch of type A people clobbering each other over the head.
That already happens a little bit.
I don't know. Okay.
People are
I
pretty
think that's
nice
a stereotype.
People are
for
nice
sure.
here, I would say, yeah.
I think that's a stereotype for sure, especially if you spend any time on Reddit or whatever. You know, you're kind of exposed to the.
It's true. We just did all these quizzes together, made sure we got all those points.
Are these the EBCP ones?
Yeah.
I will be texting one of you to check after.
I don't know if I can give you that information.
What are you talking about?
Jess, you can borrow my steamer then.
Fine, I'll go in a wrinkly dress.
What are you talking about?
We have our med prom tomorrow.
Krista Gala.
Exactly. And Jess texted me like 2 days ago. She was like, do you have a steamer or a vacuum? Iron, not vacuum.
You want me to give you
I
my
borrow.
intellectual property for your steamer?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well,
I thought we were friends.
We are friends.
Friends share intellectual property.
Yeah,
of course
Jess.
I'll share. I always share.
Friends share their house and their driveway.
Yes, and the best ice cream.
And the best ice cream. Well, it was good ice cream.
What intellectual property are we talking about?
These very high stakes EBCP quizzes.
EBC, evidence-based primary care. No.
Evidence-based
care practice, I think.
EBCP. Clinical practice.
Clinical
I don't actually know. They're actually kind of the worst.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know much about them.
Me neither. And I just
It's like you have to like self-learn this based off of like a really poorly constructed PowerPoint that they give you.
Whoa,
and then
you're gonna tell Dr. points are poorly constructed?
Every single time for last year or last semester and this semester, I will be putting in my little course eval that I would love it if it was a recorded lecture instead of me having to scroll through the PowerPoint with like having to interpret random bullets points that are written on it and like not knowing what I'm supposed to be knowing. I would love someone to just like make a video lecture at me. I can put at 2 times speed, learn what I need to do for EBCP, and then take the quiz.
Okay.
There's a lot of like outside Googling that I feel like I shouldn't have to do for these quizzes.
So
I should learn from the PowerPoint and I don't.
Okay.
Because they're poorly constructed.
I will send this clip to Dr.
That's okay.
Actually, I'm going to remove his name entirely.
Hey. I don't know. Do people disagree? Is this a hot take?
I don't know. I just do the quizzes. I get my points. I move on.
Do you look at but do you look at the PowerPoint?
Jessica's like Jessica thinks that you're spending way too much.
But do you look at the PowerPoint or do you just do the quiz and then like
I
check
look
your
at them
answers?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
If I need the information.
If they had the recording, I would just skip the recording, read the slides, and do the.
That's kind of how I
quiz.
feel.
I don't need to watch someone talk at me.
I need someone to like.
Something.
I need someone to talk at me to learn.
I tune people out all the time.
No, too much of that already.
Oh, perfect.
She's doing it right now.
I was looking over and she's just like.
You're like, Maria talks too much. What was that look?
Well, maybe this will be a video assignment I get. You know, I've been doing a lot of video stuff over the past couple of years for various people. Maybe they'll assign me.
I would listen to it if you recorded it.
Somebody came to me the other day, I think one of your classmates, and thanked me for doing the learning techniques or studying techniques video that I think you guys all saw. And I was like, oh, somebody actually watched it. That's great.
I was going to say, I
have no idea
where's
what
this
you're
video?
talking about.
Dr. Shibli Rahal sent it via email, I think, to all of you.
Oh, was this at the very beginning?
Probably.
Yeah, I was getting a lot of emails then.
She said she hadn't looked at it until very recently, and then she was like, oh, this is helpful. Like, well, one person watched it. Excellent. My work here is done. Oh, well.
Oh, I just wanted
Let's
to
make this your
say
problem.
that your podcast was one of the biggest convincers for me to come here.
Oh,
because I listened
I love hearing.
I listened to the episode where we had a bunch of MSTP students talk about why they chose to pursue the program.
This was the one that I wasn't here for.
But you were here in spirit.
I was here in spirit. I was on vacation, and they were like, "Can we do a show while you're gone?" Like,
Yeah.
okay. Sure.
And
yeah, they did a great job.
They did an amazing job, and I think it was the most raw, unfiltered take on pursuing an MSTP program. And if that podcast did not resonate with you, then you probably weren't meant for that program. And that's how like real it was, you know. And I was like, any institution that allows that kind of production to take place and cares that much about students' opinions to like put it on their website, I want to go there. So I came here.
We should run it back.
Yeah.
And update it.
Yeah.
Can I ask?
Yeah, let's do it.
I want to hear.
It's been, so I would say it's probably been at least 4 years.
I don't know if you can do it justice. It's that good.
We're not trying to be them. We're trying to be us.
Be yourself.
I don't know if it's that good.
We don't have to be good. We have to be us.
Can I ask? Can I ask all of you?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, wait. Can I ask? Because I'm friends with all of you, and I have been for a very long time, as in since we started med school.
Very long time.
Very long time.
Feels long.
Months.
But
This is true.
Okay, but I don't know like why you all chose to pursue MD PhD. Like, I don't actually know the reason. I mean, besides that, you liked research enough to dedicate
how much time we got?
8 years.
Go for it.
All right.
Because I'm indecisive. No, not really.
Still don't know.
Do you guys want to take time to think? I can just spit fire, kind of just like what's on my mind right now. Because I feel like you guys can give some really deep.
I think you should spit fire.
Yeah.
Go for it.
So
Michael.
I mean, obviously, and I think this kind of ties in a little bit with ARM, as in the person we're talking about.
Yeah.
Is finances are important. You know, I don't really come from the most financially backed family, and so not trying to impose a financial burden on my family was important. And there are a lot of MSTP programs that are fully funded and like that were fully funded and by NII.
Who knows what's going on
we'll see
now?
what happens, but at the time that I applied, were fully funded, and that was a helpful push towards MSTP. But even before that, I only applied to, I think, to my knowledge, 3 MSTP programs. So it wasn't like that wasn't my sole purpose of applying to MSTP. If I were to apply to MSTP, it would be at a place that I had connections to. And so that's why I came to Iowa as well, because I did a summer research program here, and I had so much fun. I met amazing people who are doing amazing things in different areas of science, and I still talk to them every now and again. But beyond finances, it's, you know, pursuing research, whatever that means. And I mean, the landscape's always changing, you know, in terms of funding, in terms of, you know, the general public's trust of it. I think it's important for me to want to be someone who also within my own family that they can come to for trustworthy knowledge of things. And if I don't know something, then they can also be like, oh, you are probably wrong, and we can have a valuable discussion, you know. And I want them to be informed and know how to like disagree with my takes, because just because I'm a clinician does not mean I'm smarter than you. Doesn't necessarily mean that I'm more knowledgeable than you. It just means I went through more training than you.
And you have a particular knowledge base.
I have a particular knowledge base
that other people might not have,
but doesn't necessarily make you less intellectually capable of understanding what I'm talking to you about. And so I think it's important to be that person for my family because I will be one of the first doctors in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Arrington, Bradford, Portillo, all those goofballs. I don't think they're listening to this podcast.
Text it to your dad.
I'm confident.
Yeah. But I love them, and I just want them to know that if I can do it, they can do it. These are kind of things I talked about in my personal statement, which, yeah. So it's finances. It's enjoying the toils and hardships of research. It's innovation. I think it's really fun and cool to make a dent in knowledge that is pretty commonplace.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, cool, we know all this stuff about cancer, but did you know this one crazy thing that we didn't know? Whether it's like...
I was looking at, there was a screen, I was getting my coffee this morning at the Java House, and they had that screen on the wall where they display research projects over in the PBDB. And one of them was like, something about adipose spheroids. I was like, I don't know what that is, but I'm glad they get to research that. Because who knows if adipose spheroids are important, but maybe they'll help somebody.
You never know what's important until it's like a public health issue,
right?
You know, Dr. Perlman, you know, he researched COVID for a lot of his time as a MD PhD. Didn't know that COVID was going to be that important until it was. Yeah. So it's like you never know when your expertise is going to be.
I think that's the thing that people miss about research, is that you don't necessarily research things that are clinically important right now. Mm-hmm. You research things because we as humans need to know more about the world that we live in. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times that research becomes important somewhere down the line.
Yeah. I mean, there's also talks about just like funding in general. Unfortunately, you have to convince people that research is important. Yeah. And sometimes you don't know if it's important until later on. Yeah. Or it's just not funded.
Yeah. I always think about insulin pumps. My understanding is that some of the technology for insulin pumps came out of NASA. And I don't think at the time they were like, yeah, we're doing this because insulin pumps. You know, I have no idea what they were doing. But, you know, that's amazing.
Isn't that the same with like duct tape? Like, didn't NASA like invent duct tape? And now like everybody has duct tape and it's the most useful thing ever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that sort of, you know, trickles down into everyday life. I don't know. I'm not all that concerned about like wasting money on research. That's not, I don't know. Maybe that's because I work.
Do you think it's, this might get really political. Can I get really political?
Yeah.
Do you think
I'll cut it out if I have to.
Do you think the new administration choosing to spend lots of money on researching the link, if there is a link between autism and vaccinations, is a waste of money for research?
I think okay, so I get what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I do feel like there is a point at which we can consider something settled.
Yes.
And I think this is one of those areas that, you know, I think we've pretty much settled that issue.
Vaccines and autism are not linked.
I guess not for everybody. But one of the things I was thinking when I saw that article was, you know, do we need to do this research because there are people out there who still aren't convinced?
Right.
Do we need to keep convincing people?
Right.
Maybe we do.
Yeah. I could get behind that. I could get behind it if you appoint someone who...
I was going to say, I think that we just need to make sure that the people running the study, the way the study is run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I would agree.
What really inspired me to choose MD PhD was this developmental biology class that I took in undergrad. I think even like a year prior to applying, I was like, I would never do a PhD. And then I took this class, and I don't know. I think just like the way that you learn like fundamental science, like in a PhD or in a science course, is different than you learn it in medicine. And I also kind of like what Michael was saying in terms of like new things and innovation. Like medicine, it's like always changing, and there's always new developments. but there's also like standards of care and like things that like procedures that have established ways of treating things or carrying them out. And I feel like science, there's just like this aspect of it that's like creative and like generative, and I feel like it's like a place where you can be creative and have like a little bit more like artistic freedom almost, and like medicine sometimes. And I think just the idea that something new and small and like incremental could someday like help patients was what convinced me.
Like good reasons.
It's like good tie-ins, I think, also with your interest in the humanities.
I think so.
Yeah, I think people, I don't know, maybe don't think about science as a very creative endeavor, but it really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's like beautiful. Like, have you ever looked at immunofluorescence? You should just look at that. It's beautiful.
It really is.
Immunofluorescence?
Yeah, like where you can tag different parts of cells and it's just like all colorful and you're just like seeing things at the tiniest level, like the molecular level.
So my mentor back in Seattle, he was an MD PhD. He was a neurosurgeon who was running a neuro-onc lab. And my journey towards the MSTP program was not like it didn't start out as I want to be an MD PhD. It started out as originally I wanted to go and treat patients and make people feel better. So I wanted to apply to MD only schools because I didn't, even though I was heavily involved in research, MD PhD wasn't like super appealing to me. But then I had this patient interaction where one of the tumors that we resected from this patient, we found that tumor was driven by this specific mutation. And this patient had gone through all sorts of chemo and radiation and all these other like distressing oncological treatments that are out there. And they had ran through all the options and they were kind of at like their holy grail point. And my PI basically gave the lab the tumor and was like, I want to sequence this. I want to run all these different omic tests and see what's causing this tumor because I want to get down to it. Like all these generic treatments are not working anymore. So we did
something different about this particular tumor.
Yeah. And we did, and we found a pretty incriminating mutation. And it happened to be a mutation where we already had an FDA-approved drug for it. And week, he had signed a compassion waiver and gave her the drug. And we saw shrinkage and remission in like 4 months.
Cool.
That's really incredible.
I was in the room when he told a patient that she was finally in remission. And that was it for me. That was like the switch. And I realized that I didn't just want to practice medicine. I wanted to innovate, which is why I'm so passionate about treatment innovation. And I realized that MD PhD is where I can do that. Like I can practice at that level where I can literally give people hope after, such a long period of disappointment and distress and anguish.
And cancer's at a crossroads right now. I feel like
yes. Yes, it is.
I feel like it's seeing some very big changes in how we'll be treating people in the future.
Yeah. It's a multifaceted problem, but it's a problem we can't solve without money.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing sometimes to see like what's happening to my desired field of research currently, but yeah, that was what got me into
so you're
MD PhD.
I was missing why you got so emotional right there. And the reason you got emotional was because of the funding cuts.
It was the funding cuts, and I think it's because I witnessed like firsthand what patients went through. Like I would sit through these appointments and I would see the pain on their face and their family members too. And I saw that like that emotional turmoil that this disease puts people through. And we have efforts ongoing that are in place to solve the problem, but like we're choosing not to prioritize it. And that breaks my heart, definitely.
Yeah. Have you changed your mind?
Me?
Yeah. After all this passion?
There's very convincing arguments. I think personally, I mean, you all wish. I think I personally I really enjoy doing research. I think there's a lot of value in research. I just don't think for me personally, I could spend 4 years doing research.
Research is hard.
Yeah.
It's not just hard because you're doing things that maybe nobody else has done before. You have to be, like, from what I hear from you guys over the years, you have to be, like, super resilient.
Yeah.
Because most of the time,
everything fails.
Doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like on TV or whatever where people are like, Eureka! I've discovered the thing. You know, like...
A lot of discoveries are by accident, actually.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I didn't know I did that. Let's publish.
Yeah.
That's usually research.
Yeah.
But they accident, you know, like, what's the saying? Fortune favors the prepared mind.
Exactly.
Right?
Serendipity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got to do research to find things out, even if they're not the thing that you thought you were going to find out.
Yep.
Perhaps especially if you're... I can't even remember what I just said.
Yeah. I also think, like, the research I enjoy doing is perhaps not as well suited for an MD, PhD type research.
Clinical.
Yeah. Which is to say that, like, clinical research isn't MD, PhD research, but I do think there's a lot more basic science research that gets done with MD, PhD research. And also, I think I would potentially just get bored kind of pursuing, like, one project-ish for, like, 4 years.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll plug MD PhD again.
I won't. We might lose our funding. Don't do it.
Besides that inevitability, I know that, like, there are a lot of people. I mean, we got a talk recently from a past MD PhD alum who she graduated and now she's doing postdoc, but then she also started a company. Mm-hmm. So it's like you want your MD PhD or your PhD experience. You don't do MD. Just in general, is kind of up to you. That I think PhD is hard because it's new for you, and most people don't experience the type of learning where you do it on your own. Yeah, it's like the U.S. based system of education is not top ranked in the world for a reason, and it's simply because it doesn't incite curiosity in people. I think a lot of what I've seen in, like, my younger siblings or, like, sometimes even myself, which I don't like, is that I don't enjoy the process of learning at some points in time when I should, like, that's what the whole purpose of this whole endeavor is. And honestly, I think one of the great abilities we have as humans in life is to learn.
Yeah.
And the fact that sometimes I don't enjoy it kind of sucks. Just because, like, it's not that I don't like to learn, it's just, like, the way that I was taught to learn.
I agree. I feel like I feel like looking back on how I was taught, I don't really think I learned how to learn all that well, you know? Like, it just wasn't...
Yeah, I think we do things based on, you know, a grade. If you don't get a certain grade, you are incompetent. Versus, I mean, like, there are, like, different systems that are still in the U.S., so, like, it's not all bad in the U.S. Like, I know there are, like, what is it, Montessori's, I think?
Yeah.
They let kids just roam around, and whatever interests them, and they encourage, like, if a kid wants to play with a red block, and learn all the different intrinsic properties of that red block, then they can. And if they get bored of it, they can go find something else. And it's not because they're bored because they think it's stupid, it's because they want to pursue something else.
They're exploring.
They explore it.
Yeah.
And this kind of, a lot of, like, high school, I feel like, is, like, I don't think competition is necessarily bad. That's not what I'm saying. But, like, the way that competition is used by, like, the educational system to, like, make people feel incompetent.
Or to sort people into different categories.
Into categories. Grading scales.
Grading scales can be detrimental to their learning. Yeah. In a lot of cases. I think like medicine tends to try to help with that, like by making things pass fail, but
I was gonna say, I kind of feel like my high school experience did like for me personally, I thought I had a really good high school experience. I thought it really created an environment in which like you learn because you want to learn. And I also think that my high school experience was like weird. Like my town kind of has a reputation for like its education, but I think the environment in which I grew up in terms of education was kind of like learning's important. It's kind of like this public school structure, but also like we want you to learn what you're interested in and like there's a lot of variety in like how you can do that. And I think college too was very similar for me. I kind of feel like med school, to be honest, right now, just like the rate at which we have to learn things, I'm like not enjoying learning in the way that I have experienced historically.
Yeah, there's a in the at least in the pre-clinical. I think what you're learning now is it's so much the basics of medicine.
That's what I was thinking about the entire time you were talking. Just like the different phases of our learning. Like right now, you just sit there and you hit your Anki key for hours and hours and hours.
Or you just
memorize
whatever.
Rote memorization. But I mean,
it's not so much exploratory as
no, it's not. To be honest, it's not very fun.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that you.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, so
like I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful that I am able to do it, but there are some units in which I'm like, this actually sucks that I have to learn this. I know I have to, but like
you do learn. Like I think it is cool. Like sometimes I'll sit there and be like, wow, I know so many things now.
Some units I'm like anatomy, like I loved. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I love learning about it. But then also like the beginning of MOHD 1 with like Pullman cardio, I was like, this I'm not liking learning. It's more inconsistent.
I guess ARM can kind of take that into account, maybe for helping him think about whether or not to go to a certain school.
No matter where you go, there are going to be times where it's
true and it's true at any med school. Based off of my conversations with friends, there are some units that they enjoy more and some units where they're like, this is actually the worst, and I'm so happy that it's over.
I would just also like to remind them that getting into med school is a combination of your CV and luck.
So much luck.
The fact that you won this dogfight the first time around, like you needed that luck to coincide. And that's not guaranteed a second time around. So don't discount the fact that you have the opportunity now.
Also, I don't wanna like be that person, but I'm like, there are people who would kill to be in your position. Maybe not kill, but like who
people are crazy out there.
Right. I mean, I know Jess wouldn't kill anyone.
This is true. I don't have a murder list.
Oh, good for you. I'm so proud of you that you don't have
Thank you. Well, some people in this room do, so.
Me. Who is it?
But I don't know. I do just think like you are in. I don't want to like sound like
it's a privilege.
It's a privilege. It really is. You are very privileged to be able to be accepted into med school, to have an interview and you got accepted and you're on a wait list like that.
And I feel like it just boils down to like it is what you make out of it. Like what we were talking about earlier. Like there are going to be things you don't like at every single school, and then there are going to be things that are going to excite you. You're going to meet new people. So you get what you give, kind of.
I would say if they do decide to reapply, I think it's worthwhile. I know Iowa does this. I think Rochester does. And I'm plugging those names because I just know that it's where if you don't get in, you can meet with the admissions committee and go over your application, and they can give you feedback on like why you didn't get in and like what you can do next time. I think some schools like might have what is it called? Like criteria, like maybe like you have to have been offered an interview and then you didn't get
I think
chosen.
a lot of them will list like in an FAQ, like if they get feedback. So just maybe check that out.
Yeah. But I know Iowa does, and I'm like 90% sure Rochester does. So like if they do reapply, I feel like there's value in talking to an admissions committee.
There is absolutely
doing that.
I would say, yeah.
And also then you can ask them to like, I mean, when I was waitlisted, I like talked to our admissions department. And there's value to in asking them like, I got accepted into this one school, but I'm like considering XYZ. Like they could probably give you insight that like we can't give you just off of like what they see in their, as an admissions committee, what they would kind of like not think of you, but like think of you as a reapplicant.
Yeah. Well, Arm, hope we've helped. Wish you the best of luck. Tell us what happens. Reach out to us again at theshortcoat.com/tell us. And I'd love to hear what decision you come to and if we were of any help at all, and, good luck and all that.
Good luck, Arm.
Yep.
Good luck.
Good luck.
That's our show. Where the hell's... Oh, yeah, that's our show. Thanks.
That's our show. Wait, is it?
Michael, Jessica, Shruthi, Maria, thanks for hanging out with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What kind of dumbass would I be if I didn't thank you, Shortcoats, for making us a part of your week? If you're new here and you like what you heard today, follow the show wherever podcasts are available. If you go look for us and we're not there, I want to know about it. Let me know. The show is made possible by a generous donation. The show is made possible by a generous donation from Carver College of Medicine student government and ongoing support from the Writing and Humanities program. Our music is by Dr. Vox and Catmosphere. I'm Dave Etler, saying don't let the bastards get you down. Talk to you in 1 week. Hi, Shortcoats. Look, life in medical education, life in America, life in the world is often difficult. And I often wish I could help. All I have is this podcast, but in my wildest dreams, you have the support you need to lead a life of your choosing. You deserve to be happy, healthy, and successful in whatever ways you define those words. So if you need support because you've experienced racism, discrimination, harassment, mental health crises, I want you to be able to get the help that you need. And so I'm going to put some links in the show notes to some resources that you can use. But the bottom line is that for what it's worth, I see you. I know you're out there. I wish I could do more. Maybe I can in ways that I don't understand yet or know about. But I see you, and I'm glad you're here, and other people are too. The Shortcoat Podcast is a proud member of the MedEd Media Network. Inspiration, information, and guidance on your journey to medical school and beyond at mededmedia.com.